the business end of the competition now, and 2 games coming up where it's all on the line. How much is the buzz and energy kind of lifted in the last week or so?
Yeah, look, we had a real good week's training last week. It's this is kind of where we wanted to be, where we planned and how we wanted our championship to go. So this is kind of where the fourth step of our plan, and kind of that's kind of how we're approaching this game. Obviously, with this, how the way the table's standing, like Scotland are going to be a huge challenge for us, and we've got to be wary of that, and we have been wary of that in our training and analysis this week.
In terms of Scotland specifically, how impressed have you been with the way they've grown, not just in these Six Nations games, but probably in the last 12 months?
Yeah, look, I think they've been trying to build something there, and it's kind of. I've been in teams where when you're trying to build something, you can feel it internally, but you're maybe not getting the full results. And I've kind of felt that's been Scotland probably in the year before this, and you could see them even last Six Nations showing glimpses of big games, big performances. But really now, over the last sort of 6 months, you've seen them really sort of tie these things together, and that's probably where they're going to have why they're probably like an enormous threat for us this weekend. It's, They definitely have been playing a more attractive brand of rugby and putting teams under massive pressure. So it's definitely something we've been looking at.
And finally, for yourself, it was a delayed start to the season, coming back from the injury, and then Ulster were in such tricky form at the time, and you picked up another couple of knocks along the way. You're back in and played the last 3 Six Nations games, but has this been arguably the most challenging season you've experienced on a personal level?
I was kind of probably the late start was probably more frustrating for me, as it was kind of more enforced management rather than injury itself. Prior to the autumn series and throughout the whole autumn series, I trained fully here, and that was kind of something that as players we put a huge amount of faith into the S&C staff to look after us, into the medical staff, into the physios and the sports scientists that analyse our data, what we need to get back to ensure we don't get injured again, that side of things. So for me it was frustrating in that sense that I felt like I just wanted to play immediately, but I know that all those guys have the players' best interest at heart, and if you take yourself out of it emotionally and realise that they want the best for us, which they do, I put full faith in them. So that's where I was kind of sitting with that, and like just enjoying to be back playing, and hopefully another game or two and get under my belt the next few weeks.
Iain, you got your first start against Italy, and hopefully this weekend will be the same. How important would that be for you?
Yeah, look, again, coming back into camp the first week in Portugal, I was just delighted to be back in, looking forward to really, as the entire squad is, like this like sort of a growth mindset within the team, looking to add to whoever may be starting that weekend, and that's the way I felt. Leading into those first 2 games, like I can't complain if I'm sitting behind Cheese and Tag. Like they're 2 world-class players, and for me a focus on was to prepare them as best possible. And look, unfortunately for Tag, that was the end of his tournament against France, and I was genuinely gutted for him. But obviously there lies an opportunity for someone to step in, and not only for me but for someone like Ryan Baird to come on and against Italy and make the impact that he did. It's good to see him progressing and good to see him doing well, and opportunities for him as well. So look, I'm looking forward to the other opportunities I get, be it starting or be it off the bench, and like you've heard me talking about before, and like you'll hear other guys talking about, this environment is a special place to be in, and it's enjoyable to be involved in a group of people who want the team who are on the pitch at any one time to do better.
Is this the most competitive team you've ever played on?
In ways, yes, but in ways sometimes if you try and make if you say it's the most competitive, it almost makes it sound malicious in a way, but it's incredibly competitive, but in probably a unexplainable, incredibly positive way. Like there are so many people vying for different positions, but at the same time I don't think anyone would go behind anyone's back or not try and prepare anyone who's been selected as best possible for that weekend. So yes, it's definitely up there with one of the most competitive squads I've ever been involved in. But at the same time, I feel like we're all on the same page and we're all in it together.
Murrayfield this weekend, it hasn't always been, I suppose, the easiest place to go for Ireland.
No, look, I've had a good few tough experiences over there, be it against Scotland or be it against Edinburgh, and as have a lot of the lads, and we realise the threats that they bring, the atmosphere, the way the Scots can play at home is a huge threat for us, and I think that's something that we have to understand, but we also have to get excited about and realise that's a challenge that we're going to try and embrace, and hopefully we bring the best version of ourselves, and that'll be what we're looking to do to ensure that we can try and get the result at the weekend.
Iain, what's the difference between Scotland team containing Grant Gilchrist and Johnny Gray?
Sorry?
What's the difference between a Scotland team that contains, say, Grant Gilchrist, who's obviously out,
Yeah.
Johnny Gray?
Yeah, look, I think Grant Gilchrist looks like a big leader for them. He looks like someone who adds a lot of sort of tempo to their pack, but along with a bit of aggression as well. And you can see him, the guys, in terms of line-out analysis, you can see the guys really looking to him, and he drives that. But in turn, Johnny Gray's been massive for them over the last number of years. He'll be itching to get an opportunity to show, like, I should be back in here. It's an opportunity for him to arguably play with his brother. That'll be special for those guys. All three of them are incredible players. Obviously, frustrating for Grant Gilchrist not to be able to finish out the Six Nations, but the opportunity that's going to give Johnny Gray to step up and really show I can actually add to the Scottish team that's doing really well. I can be a part of this. I'm sure that's incredibly exciting for him, but it's definitely something we have to be wary of and ensure that we realise that he's going to be eager to prove that that's his shirt, not Grant Gilchrist. So it'll be an interesting one, but we'll just have to see how it pans out, I suppose.
Iain, does being involved with the Lions in 2021 give you a better understanding of how Graham Townsend looks to set up an attack?
Yeah, I suppose it does in some ways. If I look back, however, 2-3 years ago to how we might have attacked, it's maybe slightly different. So I'd be surprised if he's still doing exactly the same thing. I'd say in this game we always have to be constantly evolving. So yes, maybe a few principles. We can see how wide Scotland like to play. Those mismatches they try and create with Finn Russell and put Duan through holes. That's some stuff we have to be aware of and that we've got to click into. But we've definitely had a good look at their last few games, and we're going to go off what we're seeing more than try and preempt what we think they might be doing from before. But similar to that, you do get feelings of other players and how they like to play, and it's something that we play loads of these players week in, week out, a lot of them, so we're used to playing against them, so it's kind of ensuring that we can, as I said earlier, bring the best version of ourselves that we know through our clubs can hopefully do the job.
Iain, from what you have seen of Scotland, what is it that they're doing differently this time around that makes them a more dangerous opponent?
I feel their pack's been getting them in the front foot quite a lot. With Finn Russell in there and their centres, I feel like they're getting wide, and then when they're going as wide as they are, defences are getting slightly more fractured, and that's where you see someone who's as dangerous as Finn Russell. If he doesn't get the first thing he wants, he often finds something immediately after. We've seen clips of him getting kicks charged down, regathering and getting another perfect kick in, stepping back inside, finding a small shoulder and throwing offloads, and they're playing with a confidence that grows them as the game goes on. I think they are playing an exciting brand of rugby. I think that'll add to the atmosphere. I think they have a back three as well, which are excited to get on the ball. They're all hunting to kind of make those line breaks to run off Finn Russell. So that's obviously something that we have to be aware of, and it's something that it's an exciting challenge for us, and it's up to us how we manage that.
Yeah, is finding a plan to deal with Finn Russell part of the key to winning this game?
I think a lot of when Finn Russell makes or manufactures those incredible moments that Scotland live off, it's often down to a fault in defence or an issue there, and he's incredibly good at exploiting that. I think that's something that we need to worry on our page about is ensuring we can iron out those faults to not give him those soft shoulders to let the offload away, put the kick in, things like that. So by really focusing on our stuff, getting our stuff completely nailed on, be it the basics of our defence, communication, kind of that sort of connection, that'll hopefully shut down a lot of those opportunities and force him to try and do stuff that he mightn't necessarily be hugely comfortable doing.
Yeah. Last one. What have you guys taken from the Italy games? All the teams seem to be good going forward this season. What he's going to take into the Scotland game in terms of defence?
Yeah, look, Italy posed a huge amount of threats, and we knew that going into that game. We genuinely discussed about how that was potentially going to be one of our toughest D days so far. So we knew that the Italian teams that we play, be it Treviso or Zebra or Italy, we know that they're progressing, they're growing as a team, and similar to the point about Gregor, if they continue to do the same stuff, they're not going to get anywhere, and you can see that within the teams. You can see their shape, you can see their forward plays getting better and better year on year. So we knew that was going to be difficult. We did things we did. Obviously, our set piece, it was great to see the likes of Tom O'Toole coming on, scrummaging well. Our phase shape at times was good, it broke him down and got good space, especially in that first half down this near side. Good space there for was it Bundy and James Ryan both of them end up making breaks down there. So things like that we saw were good, but there were other times in the game where we know we can definitely get better, and if we were to break down a team like Scotland or England going forward, we need to be on it more times than not, and creating those opportunities for those guys to be able to get those soft shoulders or offloads or make those breaks. Everyone needs to be on the same page and working together. And you can pick any game and find something you haven't done right, but whenever we don't do something right, it's not about finger pointing, it's about fixing it for the next game, and I kind of feel like that's where Faz is really good.